Hello everybody, this is Ryan, also known as MrMightyMcD, and today I'm giving you a first look at the Asura's Wrath demo. Developed by CyberConnect 2 and published by Capcom, this 675MB demo download of this interesting beat-em-up action game includes two boss battles from the game in forms of episodes 5 and 11. Episode 5 being the first of two boss battles where you face off against a planet-sized god known as Wyzen, and later being a clash between a powerful sword-wielding man known as Ugus on the surface of the moon. The controls are pretty simple in Asura's Wrath. You use the A button to jump, B to unleash combo attacks when pressed repeatedly, Y for a heavy attack, X for projectile moves, and whilst holding X you can do a rapid attack, with the left trigger activating your super mode, which absorbs attacks, creates less damage, and ultimately makes you feel more powerful and be more powerful. And finally, the right trigger allows you to use your burst gauge once full. The burst gauge is a bar which you find underneath the life bar, and right away this causes a problem. The burst gauge pretty much acts as your win bar, and once you fill it up you can unleash some really devastating attacks against your opponent and progress the battle. But the game becomes more about filling the bar, pressing RT, and away you go, and you begin to ignore the life bar a lot of the time. There is a lot of quick time events in this game, and it feels as if you're hardly playing the game, and that's the main issue I found with Asura's Wrath. With the game becoming ultimately filling your burst gauge and pressing quick time events, it feels a lot of the time you're watching the game and not really playing it, which is a big issue, but not a complete disaster. Asura's Wrath looks nice. It features some really nice art style with some interesting characters to boot. The environments aren't too interesting, being quite bland and empty, but with characters looking so bizarre and interesting as this and taking most of the screen, you won't really notice nor care. The cinematics in this game are very interesting indeed, featuring some pretty cheesy dialogue and voice acting to boot. The music is pretty nice too. It's mostly orchestrated and gives off not only an epic, but a comedic feel in areas where you can't help but smile at what the characters are saying with the epic orchestrated music in the background. You'll play the game and gradually find yourself coming up with only one word to describe this game, and that is ridiculous. Asura's Wrath is ridiculous, but it has a lot of charm. During these two boss battles, it will pause midway and feature a scene from a different location, which features some very strange sequence to be happening. It feels kind of disjointed, and sometimes it will come up with "to be continued" at the end of the boss battle, and there'll be an option to even shut up your ever blabbering opponent, which is nice to have these features, but it ultimately becomes feeling a little bit disjointed and a little bit bizarre. Asura's Wrath is a pretty unique game and doesn't play like a lot of games. The first boss battle against Wyzen is more of a long range battle, focusing more on projectiles, and just isn't too interesting, and mostly results in you mashing the Y button and kind of feels like a shooter more than a beat 'em up. The second boss battle is focused more on a short range combat style and is far more exciting, requiring you to dodge attacks and getting close into your opponent, and this feels more like a beat 'em up game. But when you're playing Asura's Wrath, it isn't before long that you face yourself with the quick time events, and they just don't ultimately feel that rewarding. There isn't much of a penalty for screwing one up, and it makes you hope that the whole game, when it's released, that isn't just quick time events. But Asura's Wrath does have some promise. For a 675MB download, you do get around 30 minutes of playtime, which is a lot more than some demos out there of this size. But considering two boss battles are to showcase to the game, this just isn't a good idea. It would have been much better if it was just a level or a portion of a level and a boss battle itself. And whilst these boss battles don't give away too much of the story, the boss battles only give you the impression that this is a very artistic cinematic game that is mostly consisted of quick time events, which is a shame, because this game features a lot of nice lighting. Sometimes there are moments in this game where your eyes just go wide at how ridiculous this game is, and it just would have been better as pretty much an anime. It features the typical anime twerps, such as bad lip syncing areas, crazy dialogue, and outrageous attacks that you'll most likely find in traditional anime. But as a whole, I wouldn't really bother going into Asura's Wrath much, even for the demo itself, unless you really want to see two ridiculous boss battles that you're ultimately going to be watching more than playing, with a pretty nice art style, then go ahead. But Asura's Wrath still has some promise, so if either of those appeal to you, give it a go. It's fun to look at, to say the least, and there will be a link to the demo in the description. This game is coming out right now, January 10th in Japan, February 21st in North America, and February 24th in Europe. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video of Asura's Wrath and me giving my impressions. Please feel free to subscribe for more. Give it a like if you enjoyed it, and I hope you have a nice day.